Very good evening to everybody watching. Thank you for joining us tonight on the evening review. My name is Taiwan Jabela. Tonight on the platform, we are joined by Pastor Simon Tinda from the Living Word Global Ministries. It's a religious institution, and they are, together with others, of course, organizing a third annual economic summit for next month, and Meme Tinda is here to shed more light on that. Thank you very much, Pastor, for making time. It looks as if you have held this event before. This is actually the third time.
Yes, this is the third economic summit.
Yeah.
There has been the economic summit 1 and 2 as well.
Yeah.
Mainly hosted by the ACCN.
Yeah. Okay.
The Association of Charismatic Churches in Namibia.
Okay.
Yes.
How was the first two, and how do you intend to make sure that this one is even bigger?
Yeah, the first two were quite more national at the local level, but this one is a big platform, and the intention is to make this one open to Africa as a continent. So the aim is to get the speakers from international platforms. So this one is going to be bigger and better because it has Professor Lumumba, the very well-known African leaders motivational speaker. Yes, and there is other professors as well that will be on board. So this one is bigger and better.
Okay.
Yes.
So the economic summit, what is that actually? What is it about?
Yeah, the economic summit is a platform that is put together to ensure that we speak economically to what we can do as a nation. And the theme this year is mainly focusing on ethical economic transformation. So it's speaking to us, looking at what can we do ethically from a church point of view, what can we do ethically to ensure that economic transformation that's taking place is done in a way that is right, and there is equality in terms of diversification and distribution of the resources that Africa has. Yes.
Okay. Are there some synergies with government, for example? I mean, you don't want to organize something as big as that. Then you have your conversations, then the end. How do you escalate resolutions and your ideas to these decision makers?
Yeah, I think the ACCN, where the chairperson, Reverend Dolly Nenguche, is involved, she is speaking to government. She is engaging the various platforms in the government so that whatever is being done will definitely add value to the government systems and to the country as a whole. So there is that synergy working together. One of the speakers is even the governor of the Rongo region. Yes, the new appointed governor there. So definitely the governments are actually very much even invited around the table to the whole discussion and the whole platform.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Usually when you organize something of this nature, is because you see gaps in some things. Because I mean, if everything was perfect, you wouldn't be organizing conversations around the table. When you talk about, when you spoke, for example, about the distribution of natural resources, how does the church see the way resources are currently distributed in our country?
Yeah, I think for long the church have been keeping to just preaching the word of God within the four corners of the church. But I think the time has come where the church have to rise up and be a voice for the voiceless. The church has to be involved and be interested in what's happening around us. Yeah, so if we are talking about ethical economic transformation, the church is the upholder of ethical and moral values. So if the church has to do that, then the church has to step up to the various sectors and fields and add value to the whole system. So whether it's in training, empowerment, equipping, and sharing of knowledge, because so many times Africa as a whole has been suffering or overshadowed, our economies are overshadowed by corruptible activities. And how will we address such? Is only when now the ethical principles are coming out, the principles of good governance and so on. And that is one of the main, the right hand of the church to instill moral and ethical standing grounds within the society at all levels. Yes.
It's interesting, Pastor Ntinda, that you say that, because you see, corruption in our country and in Africa at large is actually very rampant. Yet here in Namibia, I have not met a single person, not one in my life, that doesn't belong to a church.
Exactly.
The people that are in those jail cells are baptized, they belong to, to churches. And what is the church not doing right? Because we flock to church on Sundays or whatever day that we worship, but for some reason, many among us, those worshippers, still end up actually going to jail for these kind of things.
Yeah, I think our teachings sometimes are very spiritual, but the spiritual element, we must bring it to practicality, because we have to instill the values. If you look at the 10 Commandments, for example, those are rules that are guiding for us to stand right, you know. So now we have to bring it down for the day-to-day. Just to tell the person, if the commandment says do not steal, is the same as do not commit fraud or corruption in your workplace. You understand? But how many times do we explain what stealing involves? Is it only stealing sugar or stealing sweet? But is it when you forge documents and defraud your company also stealing? Sometimes people do not even understand that aspect. So the church has to be relevant in the sense that our teachings must be clear, and we must bring it practically to the environment that people are involved in. Because sometimes people even think corruption is not stealing, but corruption is stealing. You know, so, and the Bible is clear on this type of elements. So we need to just, I think as a church, we have to create more platform like this economic summit, where we upholding and teaching people to uphold good governance principles of accountability, transformation, ethical leadership, and so on. In the same way, we must even do it even in the churches on Sunday. So we have to stand on this principle that will guide people's lives, so that people, because it's so sad, many people lose their job just by committing fraud. If you measure the cost-benefit analysis of stealing the few money and losing bread for the table for a family for a longer period, you can see that there was not a proper risk calculations there. So yeah, we definitely have to do more, and I think this is a good thing that ACCN is backing up this type of platform, so that we can instill values in our society.
A very good evening to our viewers. Thank you for joining us tonight on the Evening Review. My name is Toiwanja Bella, your host. Tonight we are welcoming back to the platform Professor Job Ampanda, who this week filed a complaint with the Judicial Service Commission against Judge Shafimana Waitele, who is presiding over his case around the issue of the red line. Professor is here to help us unpack what his complaint is about. Thank you very much, Job, for making time. Very early in the year, big noises already about so many issues. I don't want to venture very much into your case because it's still before court, but the complaint, I think we can discuss that. What are you complaining about as far as Judge Waitele's conduct is concerned?
So, as I said already, when the Constitution was drafted, we have all these branches of the state, the judiciary, the legislature, and then the executive. Those are distinct branches of the state. They're not one and the same. The executive constitutes that central government. Unless you are Kenneth Matengwe, Vice Chancellor of UNAM, who believes that Parliament is part of central government. He actually says these things in writing. But we understand these institutions are separate, and they serve a particular purpose, each one of them. The purpose of the judiciary is to obviously interpret the law and also deal with issues of dispute that people are facing. And unfortunately, what has happened in our country is that we haven't really focused primarily on the judiciary from various perspectives. There's this impression because when we go to court, you go there, and when the judge walks in there, we all of us stand up, and they address as my Lord, my God, my worship, and things like that. And part of the problem is that we don't actually take time to understand that these institutions of state, this judiciary is supposed to function in the interest of the people of Namibia, not in the interest of judicial officers. But those people who crafted our constitution understood that there would be judicial officers. By judicial officers, I mean judges, for instance. There will be judicial officers such as Waitele, and if Job becomes a judge or any other who are going to behave in this manner. So they had an imagination that it is possible to have a judge who behave differently. It is possible to have a judge who somehow park the rules of engagement and start implementing something else. When that happens, there must be a remedy, and that remedy is provided for starting with the Constitution and then the legislative instrument, which is the Judicial Service Commission Act 18 of 1995, and the subsequent regulations that were developed. So it particularly says to you that, look, if you are not happy with the judgment, you go to the Supreme Court and appeal. The Supreme Court, you can be heard by 3 judges because they understood that human beings can make mistakes. Yeah, so you have that remedy. If you're not happy with the judgment, you can go to the Supreme Court. Yeah. But there will be time where the Supreme Court would not, for instance, be able to remedy the conduct of a judge that has nothing to do with matters of law. That's why there is these provisions, Section 4 of the Judicial Service Act, that deals with the conduct of the judicial officers. So the primary focus of the complaint is the conduct of the judicial officers. The fortunate thing is that it's not difficult for me, is because the judge himself, the beginning of trial, before the beginning of trial, both the judge and the Supreme Court, the High Court and the Supreme Court have already found that this is a case of public interest. So any argument that this is job, this is politics, it's that position, you are defining yourself outside the instrument itself, including the judge himself. He have already made that determination, and that determination has been confirmed by the Supreme Court that this is a case of public interest. And because it's a case of public interest, we saw that the media was allowed to broadcast these events live. So whatever it is that I'm ventilating and I'm saying about what has happened, it is not just my own imagination. It's something that is out there in the public. Everyone would be able to confirm and see what exactly has been the concern. In fact, I have realized, shockingly though, that people out there are more angry and more angrier than myself, given what has happened in court. They're asking me questions. Yeah, what did it happen? Are you guys? Did you have any business or a CC together with a judge, or does your lawyer have, maybe they cross paths? What is basically going on? And they're asking. Sometimes I can't answer those questions, but the basis, firstly, I'm answering your question to say that it is provided for in our law that when the judge is offside, there's a remedy for that. There must be a remedy for that. And the basis of a complaint must be gross misconduct. It will be mental incapacity. So the section speaks about what is it that you need to be able to meet, what is it that you need to be able to do. Yeah. So you have to do it on affidavit and then submit it to the Supreme Court. Now, the legal practitioners represents litigant. If it was not required that you must have lawyers representing you, I would have gone and represented myself. So Advocate Tinda or Mr. Kadila Amomo is not representing themselves. So when I'm sitting there in court and the judicial officer makes my case and the case of Namibian people whom the court have identified that is a matter of public interest, and you are making it about yourself. Like, how did I teach you? Oh, I failed to teach you properly at school. It has nothing to do with what you guys used to do in your classes, what you failed to do, what you think your learner didn't do that. It's about my case. That person is representing me.
Yeah.
So my legal practitioner throughout the trial couldn't even get an opportunity to ventilate the issues.
Yeah.
The other legal practitioner stands up. They just throw whatever it is that they throw. When my legal practitioners respond, it becomes an issue, you know, and you could just see clearly that there was a big problem. So the first primary argument is that my legal practitioners were hamstrung, my legal practitioners were decapacitated, and they were prevented from advancing my case. Those videos are there. You can easily see that this guy from South Africa who's representing the other guys and the Namibia Agricultural Union, not a single interjection. He finished, he presented, and he finished. Then the Heathcote representing Midboard, he presented and he finished. In fact, he was even said before he started arguing and said, no, don't stop me, my lord. And then the judge just smiled.
To everybody watching, thank you for joining us tonight on the evening review. My name is Taiwan Jabela. Tonight on the platform, we are joined by Evilastus Karonda. He is president of SWANU and also its sole representative in the National Assembly. The National Assembly that President Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah accused collectively of failing to pass any single law since assuming office in March. Thank you, Mr. Karonda, for making time.
Thank you for having me.
What transpired, guys? What's happening in Parliament?
Parliament is hectic.
Parliament is not hectic when it's not producing laws.
Well, Parliament has broader functions, actually, much more than just making laws. You know, we're essentially an oversight body.
Yeah.
So, you know, the Constitution permits, or the rules, you know, permit that the executive accounts to the National Assembly through questions, through ministerial statements that are also subjected to interrogation or discussion, through motions as well. It is through those motions that we raise issues that we feel are pertinent to our, you know, respective constituencies or to the country as a whole. And it is through those that, you know, when one's, you know, interrogated to, you know, by the committees, that laws are also proposed. So we have far, you know, more responsibilities than just, you know, passing laws. But when laws are proposed or bills are brought, you know, to the National Assembly, for instance, by the executive, they are not just passed, they are subjected to rigorous, you know, interrogation, to rigorous debate. You can, for instance, you know, I can recall the mental health bill, which the Minister of Health presented. It was subjected to the same level of scrutiny, and we did not get satisfactory answers from the minister. You know, whether it's the definition of mental health, you can't just pass a bill that talks about mental health without knowing exactly what the legal definition of mental health is, as accepted or, you know, endorsed by Parliament. Now, that was omitted. We interrogated that. We did not get, you know, proper responses. But that again, you know, would still come when we resume debate, you know, the National Assembly sessions in Feb of 2026. The bill by the Honorable Minister of Defense, I'm not too sure now if he's Minister also of Mines and Energy, interim or otherwise, but he presented that bill, I think, in his capacity as the Minister or Acting Minister of Mines and Industry. A bill that, on the face of it, is really important. It will have far-reaching consequences, but it's something that you just can't simply pass. You can't pass a bill that tells you the president, for some reason, good or bad, wants to take control of a portfolio that important, without clear explanations, without a far-reaching, debate. So I'm afraid, you see, if the president complains about us not having passed laws, it's not so much because we did not want to pass laws or we want to sabotage the executive. It is because we take our job rather seriously. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Is it even possible to sabotage? You sit in parliament. There are very thin margins between the ruling party's dominance and the opposition.
Yes.
51 seats, 45 for the opposition. Somebody commented this week, I think it was Venani, who said if a minister or two, an MP or two of SWAPO are absent, might be more than two, the ruling party already has problems.
Yes.
In terms of the numbers to really push through whatever they want to push through. There was a classic example earlier this year when the committee elections were taking place.
Yes.
When Utara Motu of LPM won the deputy chairmanship of the Defense Committee.
Yes.
Partially because Waheka Herunga of SWAPO was absent and he was part of that committee or something like that. Do you see those dynamics on a daily basis?
Those dynamics, I think, will help redefine, our parliamentary democratic architecture. I think it becomes something very different from what we got accustomed to ever since independence. I see SWAPO struggling internally with its own issues, even to get its parliamentarians toe a specific line. I don't think that will be coming very easily.